I'm going to use these stickers that came from Dollar Tree. It's just some little greenery fern pieces, you know, flower petals and things like that, or leaves. That's even better. There are 2 of these little frames here. I'm going to use the smaller one. You can pull these 2 pieces of plastic out, take the center out very easily, and then just add these down. And this is going to look like pressed greenery. Use as much as little or as little as you like. If you're careful with these, you can reposition them. I actually did move them around a little bit before I got my final result. But be very careful when you take them off that you don't pull them apart. I like this look. I live in the South, in the country. We get an early summer and it lasts a very long time. Absolutely gorgeous, so it definitely reminds me of summer. Nice. You could also use the pressed flower stickers if you would like. They have those too, but I haven't seen them yet. Sorry about that glare. So this is a potato bag. These are some cotton stems. And I also have some thrifted flowers. And this, I think this is like a wooden, really lightweight big plate or platter. I'm going to spray that W in the middle with some satin paint. Of course, I didn't have to do that. You'll see why shortly. Also, you can use these little picks if you would like, instead of using the big ones, and you can see they're very similar. I think you can get some cotton picks also at the Dollar Tree if you want to look for those. So just like with any other floral, you want to be sure that you fluff it out, bend it back and forth, move it around. Nothing grows straight up and bunched together, I don't think, but maybe grapes. Okay, so I'm just trying to see how I want to place this. I'm going to go inside the edge. It's only stitched on the bottom and on one side, and I'm just going to clip it and pull that thread, and it's going to open the whole thing. I think that dog food bags, most of them have the same type of a seam. You just clip one section and it pulls right out. So I'm trying to decide which piece I want to go along here and trim it up, and I learned a little trick, and this is something that I got from Crafting Cousins. To get a straight line in your burlap, pick a piece and just pull it, and it will make you a nice straight line. Look at that. Now I have a guide to cut all the way down. So thanks for that tip, girls. Just gonna go right along there. And you can pretty much use the same process here on this top. I want to make this kind of even. It doesn't really matter in the end, but I felt like I needed to clean it up a bit. Makes it easier to handle. And then trimming up where it's a little bit longer on the top. If you don't have a potato bag, you can use an onion bag. You can use, you could probably use a pillowcase if you had one. Or you can just use a piece of burlap that's not in a bag. But I like the print on this, so I wanted to be sure to use it. And it's perfect. So this is not metal, as I've said. It's some type of wood or something. I'm just going to hot glue right to the back, and it will stay perfectly fine here. Fold it over and glue it down. Now I'm not going all the way up because I'm going to do a little something different with the top. So I'm just going to go up maybe a few inches from the top is where I'll stop. Don't worry about the mess, we'll fix that later. Okay, so this is how much I have on here. And now you can see why it didn't matter that that W was on there, because you can't see it now at this point anyway. So now I'm going to fold this over and I'm going to press it down and then get in between the layers also so it will stay flat. Now, I've tried to make a point to use quite a bit of glue to hold this down because I will be stuffing it and putting some pressure on it. I don't want it to fall apart, and I'm using Gorilla Glue sticks. But you use whatever you have. If you're putting it outside, just be aware that hot glue will release sometimes in a lot of sunlight and heat. So just keep that in mind. You might want to keep it inside. Now, just to keep that folded, I put a little extra glue underneath. Now I'm going to take the other half of the bag and use that for my stuffing. I have old pillow stuffing here. You just rip apart those old pillows that are beat to death. I'm just folding it up, no particular way, making a little pouch and stuffing it on the inside. Just stuffing my strings down and all the little cotton fluff so that it's on the inside. So see there? It gives it a little bit of fluffiness to appear that it is full of something. We want it to appear that it is full of cotton. These came on a long stem, so they very easily go down in here. Oh, I might add, these particular cotton stems came from Amazon. Okay, so I'm going to take these little flowers. They almost look like African violets to me, except they're red and white. Do they come in any other color besides violet? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm not sure, but that's what they look like to me. And I'm just going to put the white in the middle because I only have one of those. They all tuck pretty nicely into the bag that is underneath, so I didn't use any foil foam or anything like that to hold it in. They tuck nicely into there. And I got the top folded over and tight enough that it kind of holds it in place. So again, I'm just fluffing out the pieces that I mashed up. Now look what I'm going to do with all of the pieces. Talking about using every bit of your items in a project. Look at this. This is the scraps that I pulled out when I was making my edges. And I'm just going to tie a little knot there in the middle. And then you can cut free all the little loops. See how there's some loops in there? Those can be cut. You can trim those up if you want to, or you could leave them hanging at different lengths. I kind of like the choppy, rustic look of this. And of course, you know me, I've got to fluff it and put it in 1,000 places till I see what looks right to me. So then I decided I had a little bit left from the bottom of the bag, because all we used so far, right, is the front and the back. Now I've got the bottom section here. I'm going to tear some of that off that's got some of that red from the word in it, and I'm going to tie a simple bow in it. If I can get it to behave itself. It took a minute there. Okay, there we go. So pull that out and fluff out that bow, and then I think I like it just like that. Look at that little messy bow. Isn't that perfect? And I just used my scraps for that. Then I'm just going to add that bow to the top of the knotted section and clamp it down so it has a nice good hold. Now I'm going to take a few of those single picks and just place those around where it looks like they need to be. A little bit of hot glue to stick it down. And what's great about this particular, I guess, piece of decor here is that it can be changed out. Since we didn't glue anything but a couple of little pieces down, maybe that 1 or 2 pieces of cotton stems, you can use this for something else. Put a different arrangement in it. So all these little picks here are on pieces of wire, so you can cut them off, and some of them are just held on there by the tape, like a floral tape. You can just pull them straight out, and then you can use them in other sections. So don't be afraid to kind of manipulate the flowers and stuff, and yeah, get them where you like them. Get them to where it feels right. And you know, with rustic, I want it to look like it's more natural, more of a natural look. And I think that rustic and cottagecore fit right into that natural, rugged, rustic kind of pretty look. Now I decided that it needed some more greenery in it and some more height, so I'm just taking some more of these thrifted pieces that look like, pretty much just look like weeds. They got some type of a berry in them. I'm going to add those down in there. And I got to tell you guys, this reminds me of Louisiana. Most of my life was spent in Louisiana and Mississippi, and we had lots of cotton fields all around and wildflowers, and this makes my heart happy. Just like my magnolia wreath that I did, I can look at this and I have so many warm memories, and I love it. Okay, so now we're going to make a hanger, and I'm just going to turn this over, and nothing's falling out. You can see nothing's falling out. Just be gentle. And I'm going to make a hanger for the back. So I'm just using a scrap piece that I got off of some other project that I did. I have a bucket that I keep my little scraps in that are big enough to use for, you know, multi-purpose. So I'm just making the simple loop for the back and just putting some hot glue and a piece of paper over that. You can pull your tags off. You can paint the back if it bothers you. You can use some felt or some paper on the back to cover it all up if you want to do that. I'm going to show this to you on my door, but this is actually going to be in the inside of my house, so no one is going to see the back of this piece. Here it is hanging on the door, so if you wanted to have it outside, this is how it would look. I love how it looks with the natural wood. Very pretty. Is this something that you would try? Very simple. I'm just using some cans in 2 different sizes. That's greens and some black-eyed peas came in because I live in the South. Just going to use some extra scraps and bits that I had left. I pulled off the edges to make them rough. I'm going to hot glue them down the seam there. I'm going to use the other one to do the other can. Just going to trim it down, take the edges off, fray it out a bit, and add it to the larger can. These cans could be used for artificial candles. It could be like the flameless candles, or you could use greenery. You could put flowers in them. You could put shells in them, whatever you want to do. You can make this your own. This is what my channel is all about. Just glue that down. And remember those scraps trim that I had? Well, there we go. I'm going to use one here. I'm going to take some of that greenery. It's a little bit different. The color is a little bit different on these. This might actually be eucalyptus. Just going to adjust it a bit. Then I'm going to tie it off. There you go. That one's done. Now I have this from a project that I did earlier. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit longer, but it is burlap. I'm going to take a little fingerful of that same greenery, put it down, tie it nicely. Then I'm going to trim that off. So we don't need anything to help catch the wind and take it off the porch. And this is what they're going to look like. Nice. If you want to add greenery like I did, this is what you do. I'm keeping it simple with some neutral colors here, but you can do whatever you would like for yours. I'm not even using any foam. I'm just using what I have, making this super simple for this last project. Cutting these in different lengths, not even cutting the flowers. I'm just folding them over and poking them down in there. Adding some more, added some more pieces. Thanks for watching, y'all. I am just flipping through here to find the image that will match what I want, and I'm really looking for something that's more of a neutral color for this particular project. This book is full of all kinds of things. And I feel like I should give you the disclaimer that this was at the Goodwill bins and it would be going into the trash next. So I did give it a little more life. I'm going to use my rotary cutter and some glue, and I have a metal measuring stick there, a ruler. And I'm going to start by taking off the edges of these frames. This is just showing you this is a project that I used before during spring and Easter, but it was actually a Valentine's piece before. You can easily take those off, and I'm just going to remove the staples. And then you can just sand down over those holes to make them a little more flat. I love my foam sanding blocks from Dollar Tree. They work great. You can also get these from Amazon. I think the value is a little bit better if you use a lot of them to get them from Amazon. Okay, so this is another image that I've chosen. It's very pretty. It is some type of a vegetable. Everything in here is vegetable. So this decor is going to be primarily something that maybe you would use in the kitchen or the dining area, but you could certainly use it anywhere you want in your house. So I'm just showing you two ways that you can remove your pages from the book. And there we have it, our two neutral green pieces. So rather than cutting these out, I wanted to give it a kind of a more, I guess, edgy look. So I'm just holding down with one hand and pulling with the other hand to just kind of tear the edges of the paper. I think this is going to give it a better look to fit into my home decor. You can certainly cut this out. You could do the fussy cut if you wanted to, but I want this to look a little bit like a botanical print, so I want to have the white background on there. These will be placed down on the back of this board. You don't want to peel off too much at one time because you can't put it back, but you could certainly do a little bit at a time to get it as thin as you would like it. So using my purple glue stick that you've seen me use lots of times, I'm going to just cover over this and then place it down. I'm not measuring anything because that doesn't matter to me on this project. Just pressing the bubbles away and out. And actually this paper and with this glue stick, I didn't have any bubbling on this project, so I was glad about that. It laid down nice and smoothly. So pretty close for eyeballing it, don't you think? All right, smoothing it all out. Careful not to pull your edges away, so it's usually best to go from the inside out so you don't peel it back up. And then I'm going to take my glue gun and just add this back down. This is not a precision tip sure bonder, it's just a mini sure bonder, and I absolutely love it. But I have a variety of glue guns that I use. I can switch it up and share with my kids. I'm going to use these clamps from Dollar Tree just to hold that frame in place because they have a tendency to kind of pop up or arc up a little bit, and I want it to stay nice and flat, so I'm just securing it with that until the glue dries. Now I'm going to use this piece of wire jute that I used before, and I'm just going to use it again. I'm going to put down my glue there and place it right back down on the back and clamp it into place. Try not to glue down your clamps when you do this. You don't want to use too much glue, but I think the ends or the tips are probably silicone. It may just peel right up, but I don't want to take any chances. I love these clamps. So now to keep my edges from coming up, I'm just putting down here and there a couple of little areas. Now this is vanishing glue stick, so it's actually going to turn clear and you won't even know it's there. This looks like a pedestal for maybe a sign. This butterfly, it's like a resin butterfly wall hanger thingy. And then I have some embroidery hoops, 2 sunflowers, and a garland here, just a little section of garland, and my Waverly wax and a wet wipe. I'm going to start by taking all of this apart. Now the only thing that wasn't thrifted in this project was my Waverly antiquing wax. Everything else came from Goodwill. So I'm going to take the hoops off, just going to use the inner rings, and first we're going to give them some color. They're fine as they are. If you don't want to color them, you don't have to. If you'd rather paint them, you can do that too. But I am just going to add some on the wet wipe so we get a light, nice stain, and go all the way around the inside, the outside, and the edges of this ring. See the difference in the color? It's subtle, but it matters. So I'll do the other ring too, set them aside to let them dry, and now I'm going to do the butterfly. This white color or lack of color just doesn't have any dimension to it. So by adding some of this wax, we're going to get some shadowing down in the lower sections of the details of this butterfly. And I want all of these to match, so I'm going to use the same wet wipe and go over the high spots on this little pedestal. I'm going to wipe it on, and then I'm going to be wiping it back off. This is going to, instead of looking like it's dirty, it's just going to give it more of an aged look, and I like that. It changes that bright white to a little bit of a creamier color as well. And it fits into my rustic decor perfectly. And that's the idea when we get thrifts, right? Is to be able to find something that appeals to us and then make it our own. So we're going to do the same thing here. Don't want to wipe on the insides, just wipe over the top, and look how it just settles in the cracks. Alright, so we're going to set that aside to dry, and we're going to attach these two hoops together. Just going to add a little hot glue and attach them to what will be the top of the topper to give it some more security and to give us some more space to put our butterfly later. I'm going to use some jute and wrap it around where we have them fixed together. Go round and around and around. You can use ribbon for this, or if you use some type of a super glue, you might not have to use this at all. I'm going to add some hot glue, just press that rope down into it, that jute, and then I'll trim off what I don't need. Protect your fingers here, and then I'm going to just clamp it. I love you guys. I hope you know I love you to the moon and back. Enjoy your coffee break. Okay, so once the butterfly is dry, I'm just going to get an idea of where I want him to be on there. And I'm going to move on to putting this ring down on the pedestal. So we have a back and a front, it appears, on this pedestal. And I want this to go to the back because when I put my florals on, that little metal piece will be there for me to attach some things to. So I'm using my screw to press a hole in this wood, just a little dent here, to give me an idea of where I want it to be centered. I'm going to add some of my Gorilla hot glue to hold it in place. It's going to make it easier when I drill the screw in. Be very careful, use a slow speed because you will split this wood if you are not very, very careful. You can use a little finishing nail or something there if you want to. So I've cut this apart into little pieces, makes it a little more manageable. I've cut the stems off of the back of my flowers and I've kept one of the leaves. Now's the fun part, when you get to just play around and arrange. So now I can put one of those pieces right there on that little metal piece on the top to help hold it in place and secure a piece down to the pedestal. I think this is silver dollar eucalyptus. I think that's what that's called. And then I'm going to start placing my flowers in to make sure they stay where they need to stay. I'm going to add a leaf in here just so that I have some of that foliage that originally came with those flowers. And then push them in here and there until I get them as full as I like. You can use a little bit of glue to fix it, to keep things from shifting around too much if you want to. And then my glue gun was sticking to this piece. I left it in here to show you. It's craziness. It kept sticking and pulling away, sticking and pulling away. So once I got it straightened out, I decided to go ahead and add the other sunflower on the base instead of up there on the edge. I'm going to add a little bit more greenery just to kind of, extend it out a little bit. Move it around where I got the glue on the frame. And then just go ahead and cover up the back over here, the hardware. Nobody has to see that. Then I'm just going to push the backing out a little bit so that it will fit, the butterfly will fit up there over the frame. Don't worry, I'm going to flip it here for you. And I'm going to flood it with glue. Make sure that that butterfly doesn't go anywhere. Like I mentioned before, there's Gorilla Glue in my glue gun right now. So I'm just going to put a lot of it on there and on that jute section too. And then I'm going to use some clamps to hold it in place, and it's going to dry like that. I'm checking to make sure it's cool, and that's been several minutes, so you don't stick your finger in hot glue. Once it's cool, I am going to move on to the next part. I'm going to cut 7-inch pieces of this beautiful thrifted ribbon that I just very recently picked up. Love this. And I'm going to cut 3 pieces. I'm going to crisscross and put one right in the middle. We're going to make a simple little embellishment or bow, if you want to call it that, although there are no loops. You could still call it a bow, I think. I'm going to take a little of my jute cord and I'm going to put it around the middle, flip it over on the table, and then give it a few knots. This is going to hold everything tightly in place. And if your ribbons flip over on you, just push them back down. You can dovetail your ends if you like, and then decide where you want to put that bow. I decided that I like it here on the bottom. So since my cord is still there, my jute cord, I'm just gonna twist it around, poke it through the flowers, around the back of the pedestal, and tie it down. And this is how it's gonna look. I believe in you. I hope that you believe in yourself. We're all crafty, and you can definitely do these. We're going to use a little bit of moss, an ornament from Dollar Tree. Be sure that it's the type that has the screw-off lid. A little faux branch. I pulled this out of an old wreath. And then these came from Hobby Lobby on clearance, on fall clearance or sale. A little wood piece. Okay, now, so we're going to start to assemble this somewhat. I went ahead and grabbed this because it looks like it has pebbles or like rounded pieces, so I just went with that. But you could certainly glue your moss down there if you would like. Protect your fingers though, because moss is thin and you will burn yourself. I'm going to make sure this is right in the center so I can still screw the top down. So now, see there? Perfect. We still have a little gap though, but we're going to address that. I've got some, I believe this is my English ivy. It's just a dark green color. And I'm going to put it right around over the silver in there so that you won't see it. It'll kind of blend out, create a little bit of a shadow, and you won't be able to see that. Much better, much better. Now, I'm going to put my mushroom in there and see how high I want it to be and if it's going to fit. These are foam, so they're easy to cut, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to trim off a little. And then if you take the ends of these particular ones from Hobby Lobby, you can pinch them down and they look, strangely enough, like they would when they were actually picked out of the ground. It's really strange, but they dimple nicely and fold whenever you use them with, just use your fingers, kind of pinch them, and they'll have that nice look. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue and I'll put it down in that moss pebble, and I will put some right on the bottom of here and hold it for just a bit. Take your time, hold it, it's going to take a minute to set up. Cool temp glue is going to be your best friend for a project like this. And then I'm going to take I'm going to throw it across the table because that's what I do. I'm going to add just a little bit of these little pieces of branch here. If you see a mushroom in the ground and they grow, they just push up whatever is around it. It doesn't matter. They can push a rock up if they want to. They push up leaves, they push the dirt up, they push up branches, and I love the thought of this just coming up right around the branches. So now I'm going to make sure that everything fits, and of course do that before you glue anything. Make sure it fits, just keep putting the lid back on. And now we're going to make a base for this, because I'm not particularly happy with the fact that, one, it's silver, and two, it looks way too small for this upside down. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and make a different bottom so that you won't even be able to tell this had a silver top on it at all. I've got it glued down, making sure that this wood slice is big enough for me to put some of this moss on, and then I'll just be tucking some moss right into the glue. I'll go up on the lid. That's going to help keep everything stuck together also, a little more security. And then I'll just start taking that and pushing it in. Y'all, please protect your little pinkies, your little fingers, okay? Protect your fingers. Like I was in a rush and I didn't do that, but yeah, no permanent damage to the fingertips. I can still feel everything, and I'm pretty sure the cops could find me if they were to lift any prints. I'm pretty sure I'm good as that, as far as that goes. Now I'm going to just continue around, all the way around, and tuck this moss in. You can use brown moss, you can use sheet moss, whatever you want to use for this. I like the idea of using this loose moss because it hangs off and it looks like, like maybe it actually grew this way. Of course, a jar wouldn't grow in nature, but you get what I'm saying. So far, so good. I like the look of this. This is pretty, but you could trim yours off if you wanted. Now, I don't like the idea of having the silver top, so I'm just going to take the same green paint that I used already, and I'm going to put that on here. And to make it easier on myself, I saved a little brush handle, like from a foam brush. little pouncer, and I just put a little hot glue on there so that I could hold this while I paint it. And then I could set it down into something and have the lid dry, which is perfect, or the little cap there. So it's going to be green, and then I won't be putting that little hangy part back in there. Not going to use that. We're going to try something else. So once it's dry, I'm going to take a little bit of jute, and I'll use that in here. You can push these pieces out. They kind of, they're in individual little pieces, like, I don't really know how to explain that, but you know what the tops look like on ornaments. They have to be able to flex open so that they can fit over the top of the ornament. So you can push those out a little bit to use to your advantage if you want to add something that has bulk, like a piece of string or something. And then you still get the perfect fit. So you just add a little bit of glue in there, and you slip the top on, making sure that it's even when it hangs, and we achieve that. And it'll stay in place. Now, you know me, I'm going to add some more because that's how I do things. I'm going to add some more right onto the top, and then I'm going to add some more on the other side. But you can skip this part. Definitely can skip it. You can wrap jute all the way around the top instead of putting a hanger on there if you wanted to. You could just use this as a sitting piece, and you can also use this like on a tiered tray if you do tiered trays. Think of all the options, all the different colored mushrooms, the different colored moss. You could just make a variety of these and hang them off of your tree, and I think they would be lovely. Yes, I'm liking it so far, but I'm going to grab some little pine cones and add those too, because these are not just woodland, but they're woodland holiday pieces. So, you know, our mind goes to pine trees and fir and conifers and things like that, so I want to use the pine cones here. We got to think about everybody, don't we? I love this, and I hope y'all love it too.